Welcome to the Recovering Perfectionist Podcast, where I empower you to develop sustainable habits, challenge society, and take messy action. I'm Christine, life balance coach and world champion ballroom dancer, and I believe that everyone has the power to create their very own life by design. The Recovering Perfectionist Podcast was created with a mission to encourage a life of abundance by finding peace and acceptance in our own imperfections and developing healthy self-love through sustainable habits and manifestation. It's time to align with the universe for the full human experience and redefine what it really means to be successful.
It's too good, the secret is out and wow.
Welcome back to the Recovering Perfectionist Podcast. I'm here today with an energetic being that you all are going to fall deeply in love with. Her name is Meryl Liz. She's a transformation facilitator. She's the founder of Yin City, a corporate wellness courses for awakening. She helps people get unstuck. She's a mental wealth champion. I am just so excited to have you here, my dear.
Yeah, so happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
This is going to be so much fun. It's going to be so raw and organic in true recovering perfectionist form.
Mm-hmm.
We are getting to know each other right now. And it's been beautiful from the second that we met because of how we met. And I feel like we're going to be able to talk a little bit more about that and just again, forming friendships and relationships, as an adult and how we go about doing that.
Yeah.
And it all started for us, at least on my birthday. So
Woo!
Very recently. And my husband and I were like, boom, we're going to do this. We're going to this amazing place called the Sacred Lounge, which you created with your business partner.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an 8-week.
Yeah, it was an 8-week series of transformational trainings, movement, meditation, getting up and dancing with movement and sound healing at the entertainment district in Las Vegas, Area 15.
Yeah, it was amazing. There was projections all over the wall. You felt like you were just in this transformative space. It was just incredible. Mm-hmm. And you led the dance portion of it and all these other things. It was so incredible. And then afterwards we met and your energy was just like, so my energy. I was like, oh my God. Cause I always feel like I have to tone down a little bit sometimes when I first meet people, because I feel like I'm a lot but I get so excited about things and so passionate about things. I just want to share everything, but you were on like the same, and I was like matching your energy and I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah. Especially even being on stage and teaching. So during the series, we would, my business partner for the event, we would switch off. So the following week I led the trainings and she would lead the movement. But even just being of service in that capacity, I am always buzzing. Like coming off it is like, wah! Like how can I want to connect deeper with people. I want to be able to serve in a bigger way. And really, my intention always is to help people to awaken. So whenever they're going through an immersive experience that I get to lead or facilitate, it's like, you best be leaving here with some transformation. Like you're not the same person from when you came in.
Totally. And that's what I feel we got. It was a great way to start my birthday. It was a great way to it was a beautiful, Sunday. It was just fabulous. And then on top of that, you and I just had this really deep energetic connection that just felt like we needed to further, which I've talked about a lot on this podcast of how I met my business partner, Maggie. Like we did the same thing, like immediately when we met, there's just certain people you just click and connect with. And that just felt right. So what I want to start with first is I just want you to kind of like talk a little bit about like your journey to where you're at right now, because I feel like we've talked a little bit about it and it's been very unique and different from most people. And I just want you to share a little bit of that. And then we can kind of get into, all the things from there.
Yeah, really. So my journey started at a young age in the sense of I grew up in a awesome spiritual community, Christian non-denominational based church where I learned at a young age. I'm from San Diego and learned how to meditate at like age 5, learned different teachings, many paths that respected the personal connection to source, spirit, God, whatever name you have for the divine. And so growing up, actually Maya Angelou was a unity practitioner. Oprah, it's like the sister of Michael Beckwith's church, Agape. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He's an awesome being.
Yeah.
I grew up in this energetic space of knowing the interconnection with spirit, with God is the root and foundation. So having the knowledge from like 5 years old up to youth and high school, I was in the retreats. It was very natural for me to feel the calling to go to India. And I was attending an event in Vegas, of course, and instantly out of nowhere, I heard this word I've never heard. It was an internal word and it said darshan. And I was like, what is that? And I literally, after a month, I was like, 30 days, I booked a flight to India to O&O Academy. It's now known as, it was then known as Oneness University. And it's a transformational, huge, amazing vortex of awakening. And I knew as I continued my trainings, I've been to India several times, 6 times, and I still continue to receive my trainings over the weekends, that as I grew in my process of awakening, like here we are, we think I witnessed this, like I thought I was good. I'm like this confident woman. I have, and the root and essence of me is I am a light. Like I witness the energy that I give, and I witness, how much love I have to give away and generously share the light that I am. Right. And then when I went to India and I awakened, I was like, oh my God, I witnessed for the first time, like such unconscious insecurities and unconscious blocks and the walls that I was even putting up toward men because I had an ego. And it was like these things that I like, wow, these things were so unconscious. I was not even aware, but it was the blocks that were in the way of really what I was calling forward and manifesting. But I unconsciously was unaware of that. I believed it was blocking, like I believed these beliefs that were keeping me back from getting the things I wanted. And I didn't even know I had these blocks. I didn't even know I had this ego, and I didn't even know I had these hurts. And so,
well, that's the thing. We're so unaware of these conditions and programmings that we're raised with. And, as they say, no one comes out of childhood unscathed. You have something that's holding you back, but you feel like those things are keeping you safe. And
so
they're, and, and honestly though, sometimes for a part of your life or a chapter, they are. Their defense mechanisms, their ways to kind of like get you through. But then as you get older and you become an adult, they're actually your limiting beliefs and they hold you back.
So
and
good.
You have to start shedding them. And it's so hard to be like, I was this person and now I'm this person, or I believed this and now I believe this, because we feel like we're not sticking to our guns. You know what I mean? Like we're not like actually like, well, you can't just, bounce around with all your belief systems, but it's like, no, you have to we need to normalize people changing their belief systems because they have new information.
Yeah. The real work is to unlearn. And that is the awakening.
Amen.
It's to witness the things and be so open to unlearning them. And so in my journeys to India, I became a oneness trainer and then an advanced oneness trainer. And the real work is to really witness the self and transform through these specific processes that I get to go home to my city in Las Vegas and the places that I travel and teach. So as an advanced trainer, I've been given these specific trainings that are so incredibly deep and profound, and karmic lineages being cleansed. Like it's also rooted in our ancestors. Yeah. And so to be able to do this work and then do this in Las Vegas, and I've traveled, I've done, trainings in the Philippines and California and Hawaii. And it is the work that our life stream has come to continue and fulfill for ourselves. It is the work. It is to fulfill ourselves. We must be able to be aware, to see, and to really follow through with the sole purpose that we came. And sometimes there are blocks for sure, because we have our own unconscious fears and hurts. And so I get to lead people through the processes and break down specific time-proven tools to help people to elevate and move past unconscious hurts and programs that are really blocking. And for me, I've always been I've been like such a spiritual gangster as a dancer, performing in LA. I went to school in LA, and there never was a separation for experiencing the divine. Like, even when I would have a drink, and I don't even drink very often at all now, but I remember being in a nightclub, being buzzed in LA, and I went to the bathroom and I was like internally like praying, like, thank you, God, for this experience. Like, thank you for letting me experience this. Like, everything, even making love, of course, sex, anything, when you have a connection with your highest self, is beautiful. Yeah. So it's just
well, like, totally, absolutely. Well, and coming from both dance, because we talk about this, you know, a lot, is dance for me is extremely meditative. Yeah. It's like when I was taught how to meditate, you know, many years ago, and people told me I had to sit still and just, you know, or they were like, well, let's start by just like blocking out all the noise and just sitting and not thinking about anything. And I'm like, oh yeah, you don't know me well. Like and then I realized that meditation, yes, there's times where I need to kind of sit and block out the noise and create some white space. But for me, when it comes to the purpose of meditation, to relax, to process, to, you know, cleanse yourself from what's going on outside of you, it was a way to be present in the moment. And I was like, what allows me to be present in the moment? Dancing. It's especially freestyle dancing, you know what I mean? Social dancing, because everything's created in the moment, that if I'm not fully present in that moment, I can't participate appropriately. That's true. And so dance for me has always felt very therapeutic, very meditative, very relaxing. And it is one of the only things that allows me to be present in the moment, that I'm not thinking about my phone and my appointments and the laundry and the this and the that. And I highly recommend people get activities or hobbies or experiences around them that allow them to be present, because it's so hard to find with this world, this overstimulated world that we're living in.
Yeah, I always share that meditation is my favorite form of meditation, because really, to distinguish, meditation isn't necessarily sitting on the mountains with no thought. That could be a form of meditation. Right. However, meditation is really being completely immersed with what's right here. Yeah. And dancing, for sure. Oh my gosh, I go in front of my altar and like, I can't not move sometimes, because energetically that is the science. Even in my trainings and even in my processes in India, it is the creative life force at the base of the spine that is moving up through the spinal column to awaken consciousness. It goes up through the entire spinal cord, up through the chest, the throat, up into the middle brow, also known as the Agnya chakra of the third eye awareness, and up through the top of the head. And when we move that creative energy up the spine, we receive divine insight. We receive the awareness to be here. And movement is the science to be able to relax and receive. So even in the processes that I lead, you must move. You must move the body. You experience a portion of that. We must get into movement and freedom, because when you're really completely free, there is no filter to be who you are. That is grace. That is the highest form of meditation, and that is joy. And the universe can't help but respond to the joy vibration that you bring through your freedom. And dancing, when I dance, it's like, it's just like,
well, that's the thing. Free. It's like, we're not, when you're moving and you're dancing, the idea is not to care what other people think about you. It's that concept, you know, that cliche dance, like no one's watching. Like, it's about you. It's about how you're feeling. And it's about getting energy. For me, mainly, it's about getting energy that's stuck in places out.
And I know I like to really transform that too, because it's like dance, like everyone is watching and not give an F, right? Like, I
sure. Yeah. I was going to say, I don't mind when people are watching. I love it. It. That's my vibe. But some people who like, they're, you know, that feel that I'm not a dancer. I don't know how to do this. I'm uncomfortable. It's like, well, but it's not for them. It's for you. Everybody else needs to have their own journey through it, through movement. And we could call it movement, because I think dance gets a little bit too technical for people, but movement.
It is. And it's having, like you mentioned earlier, any form, even I guide people through meditations, like you could be swimming and you're just present. You're just so present with the joy of experiencing your body in the water. People, you know, play tennis and they're focused. That is a form of meditation. You're present. There is no there is no thought of tomorrow. Like when you're laughing, you're not thinking, when you're in like bliss consciousness, you're just laughing. You're not thinking about tomorrow. You're not thinking about yesterday. It's presence. And then, you know, also there's an example. It's like when you get scared and someone goes, no, and you're just like, ah! And you're just like, there's no thought of anything. You're just in it. You're
just in it.
and
Totally
that
agree.
is the power of experiencing what's here. The more we get to be that and do that, really, the more joy you'll really transform the mind and the body. Even with my partner, I was just, I watched the mind go here and there. And the real practice is, the real miracle is to be aware. It's like, oh, look at me going, not even present right now. I'm looking at tomorrow. I'm looking at what I need to eat or what I need to do or how this situation can be better. And then boom, I witnessed myself going in all these mind directions and I wasn't even present with the man in front of me. And once I took a breath, I just witnessed him. I looked at his eyelashes. I was like just present with him. Like there was this sprout of energy that moved upward into my heart. And I was in bliss. I was in joy because I was just experiencing him with no expectation of how he needs to be in that moment, with no story of how this experience could be better. I just was experiencing him. And then I was in joy. I was just like, that is why it is a gift, the moment, because you're simply here. And the gift is the joy that comes from being right here, whether it's pain, whether you stub your toe. I do this too. Like when I'm stubbing my toe and I'm like, ow. And instead of resisting the pain, instead of resisting what happened, I'm like, let me feel my toe pulse right now. Let me feel like the blood coming through my toe. And then there's like, I start to laugh because I'm just experiencing everything that's right now.
Well, that's it. It's the full human experience. That's what, my manifestation coach talks about all the time, the full human experience of whether it's good, bad, ugly, happy, sad, anger, whatever it is, all of that we signed up for the full human experiences, which is a range of emotions. And we need all those emotions in order to appreciate the joy, and the life that we live. Because if you don't have contrast, and you don't have a variety of emotions, you're not really feeling everything on the spectrum, So let's talk a little bit about just friendship, because I think that that's such a unique, difficult to understand concept for a lot of people. Relationships already, there's lots of places that talk about relationships and, marriage and, how to have monogamy, all the different things. And now all these different new relationships coming. But when it comes to friendship, I think there's so much now that is changing in relation to how to make friends, especially as an adult. When we're going through these healing journeys, when we're on different spiritual paths, finding a like-minded community. Because I mean, and I'm sure you can attest to this, that the dance world for me, in every state that when I keep moving around all over the world and then discovering, all these different communities, the dance community is what has always been a staple for me, that I can always go and find my salsa people, my swing people, my ballroom people. And those are going to, in there, I'm going to find at least 60 to 70% of them will have something in common we can work from. And then you find deeper and deeper. But how do you feel? Because when you're a kid, we talked about that it's a much easier, we both like the same color. We both bond over the same foods. We have the same allergy, whatever it may be. And it's like, oh, you're my best friend. You know what I mean? Like you're the only one that didn't, make me cry today. So you're my best friend. But then that grows and grows and grows. But as adults, we're looking for deeper human relations and connection. And that is not something everybody is always prepared or ready in their journey to give people. Sometimes they want to give you deeper human connection, but they don't know how, because they don't know how to do that with themselves. So how do you feel that has been, as an adult, creating friendships, but also like, what is your advice on like what works and what doesn't?
You had such an interesting exploration. So I will share that being in Las Vegas, I've heard it so many times, and I've been here quite a while, over a decade. And people, even in the early 2012s, they're like, how do you find more people like you? They're like, Vegas is such a, I haven't found friends, I haven't.
Transient. It's a transient place. I heard that too. And people were like, oh, you want to find someone to date here? Good luck.
Yeah. It's kind of got that rep. And for me, I am a bridge. Like when I have gatherings, I love bringing people together because you really are what you bring into your environment. And I've always known that I am surrounding myself with the higher vibrational people, or even just the people that really serve me. Like, I always know that I don't have a belief that it isn't to be found. Like, I always know that it will be found. Like, in my experience, the people that showed up in my world were just the magnetic energy force that really I love to surround myself with. And I found more and more people like that, and I brought people together that way. It's me. So it's not like externally seeking something. It's me. Like, I'm going to vibrate at this level. I'm going to show up as this level. And there are people in the city, there are people in my world, even if it's across this town or another country, like if it needs to be on Zoom, what have you. But I know there are people like me. Like, I know there are.
Right. That vibrate at the same level. I completely agree with you. Like, I don't
I
feel like,
it.
yeah. And it was
People
the same
don't,
thing.
like in Vegas, some people like, I can't find a guy. Like, they believe it. So guess what? They will never find the
That's
guy
it.
they want.
Yeah. Whatever you believe is going to come to fruition for sure. But it's the same way I catch myself when I say, like, when I first met you, or when I first meet people, I always feel like I'm a lot for some people. And honestly, it's because I've been told that by some people. And I realized that, like, you have those memes that say, sometimes you're going to be a lot for some people. Those aren't your people,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to remind myself that, like, at first, I feel like I can connect with a lot of different people based on what my life experience is and the way that I talk and the way that I, connect with people. But then there's something to be said about first impressions, about, like, when you don't know anyone at all, and the first thing that you guys say to each other can sometimes make or break how you want to further, the process. And so I'm very aware of that. But then I also feel like, no, why am I bringing myself down? The people that I know are meant for me, that I'm going to have those deep connections with, which those are the ones I'm looking for anyway, they're going to vibrate at the same level that I vibrate at. And that's what was so profound. And so, like, I think, like, shocking when I first met you was that, like, you were vibrating just at the same level. Like, and I was like, oh my God, my husband's a lot calmer, as you noticed. And I was like, he was just like, what's going on here? Like, I feel like there's like two of you.
I love that. Yeah.
It was great. It was great. We were excited about what we were doing. We were excited. Yeah. You were excited that it was my birthday, and that, I brought my husband, and we made like a couples thing of it. And then I was excited about what you were bringing to the table, and the fact that you were leading this amazing movement, and who you were and what you did, and the way that you spoke. And I felt like we had a lot of the same qualities, and that excited me. And that just kind of built this energy. I don't know. I mean, your perspective.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. And really, really, in my experiences, really, people who witness joy in others, they magnify, and they want to be like, they're attracted to more of that joy. When they witness, like, the authenticity in others, I feel, in my experience, like, friends want more of that. They want to be around that energy. Like, when you're expressing and exuding yourself and not holding back in the sense of, like, what will the other person think, when you're just who you are, extend a loving word, a compliment, or sharing your vision or truth, you're energized, people are attracted to that. And that's, like, I witness, people read energy automatically. We know this, body language, even our facial language. And if you're not being completely true in the moment, people will feel that. So it's like, why hold back when energy reads? When, in my experience of creating friendship, especially, in our 30s, it's, for me, we're very, I feel like, more and more intentional with who we invest our time with. And the power of friendship is this: when you're completely free to be as you are. And this can be, I watch this in my relationships with my parents and with, other people, even siblings and family. True friendship is when you're giving energy and you're receiving energy. And when there's an energy block, maybe you may physically feel drained after, it's something to look at, because the freedom of friendship is being exactly as you are and being fed through being as you are, and also giving away, like, the other person is also fed because you're as you are. And when there is no true freedom in engaging with another, that's when you witness that's actually not a true friendship, because you're not receiving something that feeds you from the other. If their energy or their words or their expressions actually hold or bring you down, it's something to look at, because you're not receiving, like that's what drains our energy. You're not receiving on that end. And so the friendships that are being created in my world now, it's always like, I think I've just always been intuitive with people. And when I feel their genuineness and their light, it's an instant connection, because it's just real. And I'm real. Like I can't be anything else than I'm not. But I do witness, that's the power of watching the mind too. It's like, oh, look at me wanting to impress this person right now. And this is also an ego. Like that's not going to read well. And I've actually witnessed that this weekend. I was in New York, and I witnessed myself like appreciate this woman, and like this is very vulnerable. I haven't shared this because it just happened. But it was like, this woman's beautiful, and she is like someone that I wanted, that like I was gravitated to her. And I kind of like, I think I like put my hand on her back and like interrupted a conversation. And then I was like, oh, look at me wanting to be approved by her right now. And I totally kind of just did not make that happen. And like I wanted to impress myself onto that instance. And I checked myself. I was like, oh, look at me like feel rejected, because I kind of just like went in, like I forced myself into being seen by her. And versus when something happens and versus like an open engagement. Like I was talking to another girlfriend. She was also saying like, she was saying something similar to you. She's like, I feel like I'm a little too much for this one woman. And she kind of shies away from me. And she's like, I get that I'm not everybody's woman. And I was just like, that's so interesting, because really that can't be the case. And really, when you just are who you are and take it as it is, people don't have to always be your cup of tea, but as long as you're good within yourself, so there's the awareness of seeing when you want to like impress, and then there's awareness of like, just let me be who I am, and the people always come.
Totally. But I think that, what you're saying there, because I love what you said about wanting to impress, like that was exactly where I was going to go. It's a perfect segue. Because I think that the biggest problem with where we are in our society, especially as adults trying to make friends, is that most people are not comfortable with who they are. They think like they're too much, or they're not enough, or they're not the person people want to be around, or they don't have the same skills this person has, or they're not going to impress them. There's all this perfectionism, traits that come into play there. And so that's why, I think for us, when we talk about it, it's like, we know that the best friendships have come out of, or the best relationships in general have come out of us just being ourselves. The authenticity, the vulnerability. I mean, we just started this podcast, and then like, I'm ready to go. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait. Mary Liz and I are going to do this. It's going to be great. You set the whole energetic intention. And then like everything in my world over here just like starts, the dog's barking, the whole thing. And I'm like, oh, this is not a great way to impress Mary Liz. But I thought the same way. I'm not trying to impress you. We are agreeing to continue and learn about each other in this space and create wonderful art and content for people to, absorb through what we do. But that's because we've kind of, awakened in our journey. We're continuing our healing journey, and we're checking ourselves. Just like you said, I love that you said that in New York, like you're checking yourself, but not a lot of people are doing that. So I think that's the hardest part, is it's so easy for us to say, well, we just need to be real, right? Because we know that like when we're trying to impress someone, that didn't go well. But when I was over here, just like being my too much self that I think that some people think I am, that's when everything kind of fell into place.
Yeah. So really, there are some really valid tools to practice. And the highly successful people and happiest people are emotionally aware. So a tool is really, we're in two states of consciousness. We either are in a state of conflict where internally it's like, even if you like, should I eat this or should I eat that? Or should I wear this? Should I wear that? Or do I need to go to that event? Or I really want to go to that event? That's a state of conflict when already we are feeling a sense of separate disconnect, or we're actually, most of humanity's consciousness is in a state of disconnect, which does not bring us to experience the moment. And we all know what the opposite is. It's like when you are even just in complete laughter, you're in a state of oneness with the self. When you're witnessing, a child's gaze and laughing with your child or an infant, you're just present. And when you're even experiencing yourself, like even outside with nature and just feeling this calm oneness with the self, and there is no thinking of what's next. You're just there. It's like it's a state of oneness. Essentially, you're either in a state of stress, of conflict, where it's this or that. You're not even here to drop into that moment, or you're in a state of flow of oneness. And a lot of the time when we're in our relationships or in engaging with people, or not even engaging because we're just reacting to people, we're not in a state of complete self-awareness, because we're in a stress state. So the mind gets really loud, the thoughts come, and it's like, to practice it is really like, okay, where am I coming from right now? Am I coming from a state of disconnect, of stress? Okay, look at me. I'm like, and no story, no judgment. Like, oh, look at me. Like what happened in New York when I saw myself want to impress. I'm like, oh, look at me wanting to impress someone. Look at me, like not even being my whole true self because I wanted to be something else. Like, look at me do that. And with loving awareness. So witnessing the self with no story or judgment. Oh, look at me. I'm being a bitch right now. Excuse my language. Like, oh, yeah, I'm angry. I want to slap this person right now. It's like owning it, complete radical responsibility, because you're like, oh, look at that. And then the mind is like a thief in the night. The moment it gets sensed and seen, it disappears. So witnessing the self, you're like, oh, look at me right now. Like, I actually want to impress this person.
Almost like you're like catching yourself red-handed kind of thing.
You are. And the moment you witness yourself, that's the miracle. So when you're wanting to engage or wanting to be this or that, you're like, oh, look at me trying to be something that I actually want to be right now that I'm not. And instead of going down a hole of like blaming or shaming, you're just like, oh, look at me. No story, no judgment. Like, okay, now you have
making it neutral. Like it's okay if you have those feelings, because a lot of people do that out of fear of being judged. Like, oh, I want to say this, right? You said you have all these stories and all these things that happen when, you meet people at like events and different things. And same thing. I think everyone does. And their fear of being judged, of like, I want to fit in, right? That's what society tells us to do. We want to fit in. We want to make sure that we say the right thing, that it doesn't sound weird, right? That we're not, sounding too young or too old or whatever it may be. And these are all society's lies and programming that have conditioned us to go into a conversation feeling this way. Why can't we just be who we are? And then if that person accepts us or not, I think we have fear of rejection. Well, I don't want that person to reject me, right? I want to be accepted by this person because I value this person and I see this person. And I think that's the first step, is you're already seeing this person as above you.
So true. And even witnessing that. So that's where the joy comes in, because you're just like witnessing, oh, look at me. Like, I can't accept this person right now. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I watch myself, I'm like, I don't even want to accept this person. I'm so in integrity with myself.
Yeah.
So I'm like witnessing here, like, oh my God, I just want to slap this person right now. And I like laugh, but really the truth of it is like, oh, I can't accept this person. And then I witness myself, and that's it. It's freedom. Like, oh, look at me. That's okay there. Then I'm free from the mind's continual cycle. And I just choose from that moment, like, okay, I'm okay with that. Now let me come back to this. Now that I'm so present with where I'm at. It's really an art of listening. And I teach that it's not even the content that's being thrown at you. It's your inner dialogue. Like, even when people are talking, it doesn't even matter what they're saying. What are you saying to yourself? When you can have like a true integrity with like, oh, look at all the thoughts that are arising in me, look at all the things, and you're watching your thought, that's where the joy and miracles are, because you're at least witnessing yourself instead of thinking you're this specific person. You're just witnessing yourself like a third person. And the thoughts come and go. They're just there to come and go like clouds. But when you disengage from the thought and don't believe you own the thought, that the thought is you, there's freedom. And then when you can witness yourself, then you can be present in the conversation. Like, really, I've had conversations where people are like going da da da, and then I'm like watching my internal thoughts and like, well, look at like how I'm like responding to this and da da da. And then I respond really with integrity and authenticity. And it's like a cloud of darkness, like, or not even, I wouldn't even say darkness, like a fog or haziness disappeared, because it's like, I'm not trying to be anything. I'm witnessing myself right now. And I'm so much more present to witnessing myself, because then I can show up really fully and authentically in this conversation or meeting this person. Sometimes that is the process. And sometimes you're just in honest joy, like how we met, and you're just like, you're vibing off the other person.
That's it. Yeah. And you just came out of a great experience, but what you're talking about here is awareness. My Maggie, my business partner, and I, we talk about this all the time. It's all about awareness, using that feedback that you've created from the awareness to create intention. And then having sustainability with that, like those are our pillars. And awareness is something we're not taught in school. We're not taught, like to be able to be self-aware of what it is that you're feeling and what you're thinking, and creating these neutral experiences. Because I agree, I teach my clients that too. I'm like, everything around you is inherently neutral. We're the one that gives it value. We give it, oh, this is a positive experience, this is a negative experience. But some people could look at the same experience and you think it's positive and they think it's negative.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so it's all about the value you put on it. And if you decide first and foremost to put a neutral feeling onto it, in the sense of like someone meets you, you say something, they kind of look at you weird, you feel like you blew it, and maybe you don't, and nothing comes from that. That doesn't need to be a negative experience. That can just be a neutral experience that you're like, okay, it happened. And if that person was meant to stay in my life and be in my life, they would be, but that takes a lot of, I think, again, awareness. It takes a lot of intention. It takes a lot of like inner dialogue and reflecting on that, to the maturity of it to be able to understand that. But I think the part B of that, the neutral experiences for sure. But I also think for me, it's about quantity. So it was kind of like we were looking at houses this weekend, and it's a process that nobody really thoroughly enjoys. Like I come from interior design school. So yes, I like the process of looking at houses, but when I've got a lot going on in my life, I just don't have the time for it. But for me, it's all about quantity. So like, if I look at 15 houses, I could pick one or two and then run with that. If I only look at one or two and I hate both of those houses, I'm going to feel like there's nothing out there. Right? But if you have to just keep moving. You get in the house, you're like, nope, this doesn't work, out onto the next one. And you don't let it affect you. It was a neutral experience. I'm like, cool, on to the next, like that, check off the list, and let's move on. And I think it's the same thing with friendships. When I meet people, I don't go into it saying this is going to be my next best friend, or this is going to be someone I never talk to, or this is going to be someone that really irritates me, or this is going to be someone I really admire and put on a pedestal. Like, you have to go into it very neutral, and you go into it and then you see how the energy is. And I do that too. I feed off of the other person's energy a lot, because I don't want to be too high or too low, depending on the situation and the environment. And then I very quickly fall into who I am. I'm like, listen, at this point, I feel confident with who I am. And as long as I'm feeling that this, that the energy of the room is ready to support what I'm ready to put out, then I don't see why I can't just be me, Yeah.
And, I'm very intentional anytime I go, especially when you're calling in people you want to surround yourself, or really all life is relationship. The relationships are what build the consciousness of support and how you feel fulfilled in life, because you're connected, you're seen, you're able to give, and you're receiving. And really, when I make an intention of connecting with people, like I say an inward prayer, I set an intention, we'll call it intention, call it prayer, connecting to yourself. It's really like saying a thank you to the universe for bringing me the people that I'm meant to connect with, that will bless me and whom I can bless. And that's who shows up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's incredible. You're right. Because it's the same thing with, spouse relationships, or love relationships. Like, friendships are, I think so many people feel like as they get older, it's so much harder to find good people, like-minded people in your circle.
And that's even a belief too, so if you
that's it,
that's going to be it. Yeah. You have the power to change that belief.
Absolutely.
You can be like, cancel clearly. No, I do not choose to believe that it's difficult. I'm affirming now. It's easy to connect with heartful people that I resonate with. It's easy for me to witness people who really desire to be around my energy. It's easy for me to make friends that I really enjoy being with.
That's it.
Like, you create it and it'll happen. And it is your awareness to fill yourself with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's something to be said about also, putting yourself in the environments that you feel support your belief systems, because, there was no mystery why we found each other at your sacred lounge, energetic healing space. I like movement. I love, I saw something that was pretty spectacular. You completely over delivered, and it was a phenomenal experience. And so you and I were both vibing off of that energy. But I used to have a mentor of mine. She told me, she said, if you want to be a barista, go hang out at Starbucks. If you want to be a CEO, go hang out where CEOs hang out. And it's the same thing. If you want to find find friends that are aligned, that are aware, or maybe you want to find friends that are just fun and, carefree, like to cook, whatever. Go hang out where you think those people will be hanging out. Where do you like to hang out? And just find that. I think so many people are waiting for things to magically come to them. But then, like you said, the only way that you're going to attract those things to you is if you believe you will. And a lot of people don't believe that they will, but they think that's the only way it's going to happen. And I'm thinking that's so counter, you know what I mean? Like that doesn't align.
It's the same. And you are it, it's like, it's even deeper than believing as it is, you embody it. It even happens in wealth consciousness. You want to be wealthy, then you embody generosity. You embody honoring your sacred money. You embody the wealth consciousness that is moving through you. It's like anything you desire. I witness this in my relationships. It's like, then I must be the highest version of loving kindness to myself. I treat myself out on dates. Like I am being the man that I want to manifest, so it's like, you be it.
Absolutely. And create space in your life for that. I have a lot of people trying to manifest friendships, relationships, love relationships, and they have, a house full of their stuff with no room for someone else. I'm like, why don't you empty a closet? You know what I mean? Like metaphorically make space for this person that's coming into your life. Or they're just their schedule's packed. I'm like, if you had an extra friend right now that wanted to go out and have drinks, where would you go? Like, where would you fit that in? As humans, like we say we want these things, but we're not actually creating the space in our life for those things to arrive. Well, I'll make the space when it arrives. That's not really how it works. Right? Can you speak on that for a minute? Like, that's not really how it works.
Yeah, no, it's such a powerful practice to energetically show up the way that the universe can meet you there. So even for me, when I manifested the partner I'm currently with, it was like, I was leading meditations and workshops, and the men that were hitting on me were not my type. Okay. Like I am a fun, sexy, grounded woman. And I wasn't working on the strip in Las Vegas where those men resided. So I made it a point to make myself be in the scene of that energy. I literally was scrolling. This is back like when Bumble just started, and it was like on Facebook, Ellen had this thing. She was making fun of people in her audience, and they happened to be like on Bumble, and she was making fun of the profiles. And she said, it's an empowerment for women, join it. And I've never done any dating app. I never was on Tinder or anything. And I was like, it's Ellen. She says it's women empowerment. And I joined, and I just knew, because I'm putting forward the effort. If I want to meet a man, that means I must put myself in the space and position myself to be available and be seen.
Totally.
And so I did something I've never done, and I made myself be available, and I went on dates. It's like, if I want to meet men, then I want to be in the space to meet the men and it's like, you're desiring something, then make yourself available to be seen. And I went on the dates. It was so much fun. And I enjoyed all of them, people can have such a belief like, oh man, it's so hard to find them, or, guys are so weird. It's like, all that's BS. All you do is show up as your highest self in integrity and let them be who they are. If it's a match, then you enjoy it. If it's not, then you enjoy it. Like I came in with no attachment, and I dated men, and I enjoyed every man I dated. Yeah, they weren't always all for me, but I enjoyed hearing a man's story, holding the space for a man to be heard. Like I enjoyed the process. And unexpectedly, ended up falling in love with one of them, and we didn't expect it. So
you did find him on Bumble?
Yeah, we're together. We've been together almost 5 years.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, I feel the same way when people talk about their like terrible toxic exes. I'm like, I have, a handful of exes as well, and they're all people I would still call up and talk to, or like, I'll see because they were in our salsa world or something. Like they're still good people. They never did anything bad to me. They just weren't my person. Like I was on a different path, and I had some different goals in life I wanted to go through, and we weren't aligned with some of those things. But that doesn't mean that they weren't bad to me. We had great times. We had great dates, great experiences. But I realized where I wanted to be, and I realized where they were, and it just wasn't aligned. And that's all there was to it. But again, I also think that that's just really being sure about what you want. And I like what you said, you went into it, without a lot of expectation, and like, you just kind of, again, a neutral experience. You're like, let's see what this experience brings. You're going to learn something about yourself every experience that you have. And by putting yourself out there, again, it comes back to the quantity thing. You went on a lot of dates to be able to have different experiences, to learn what you like, what you don't like. I was sure I wanted a man like my dad for years. I was like, oh my God, I'm just like him. Let's go. This is who I need. Very glad the universe didn't listen to me on that. And we laugh about it all the time, because it's like, I needed someone that was the opposite of me, that gave me balance, that, was the yin to my yang, that created this calmness and groundedness when I could be the fire and energy and be able to push. I didn't want two of me. That we would have exploded, And so by really putting in the work, and like you said, putting yourself out there, that vulnerability, man, out of your comfort zone, that's where the magic happens.
All the time.
Like, seriously, it's scary, it's uncomfortable, it's embarrassing, it's all the things. It's terrifying at times, but it is the most rewarding when you sit in that presence of being in a space you've never been in before.
I learned something this weekend that I'm going to continue to reiterate, and it pertains to all relationship, even your relationship with yourself, and showing up, even if, as a business owner, going to the next level of being seen, and especially being on social. And it's like, the real power is obviously, of course, there's a fear of rejection, and more than the fear of rejection is this desire, and like, to always be validated. It's like we're addicted to the validation, and that's what's keeping us from moving forward, because we, on a deeper level, are afraid to not only taken in by the way, or being perceived by the way we want, but it's like, if nobody sees us the way that we're showing up, it's like, we fear that. It's like, how many likes do you get? How many comments do you get? How many did that? And it's like this addiction to being validated. And like, that's also what's holding us back from showing.
But why are we not, sorry to cut you, why are we not validating ourselves? Like, I think that's the key there, is that I believe that the reason people say it's hard to find good friendships as adults is because we become big children who have not validated ourselves and created our own self-worth. So now we're looking for external validation from love partners, life partners, and friendships. And then when those people don't do that, because it's not their job to validate us and to give us self-worth, we think, oh, well, I don't want to be rejected. They're judging me, they're shaming me, they don't see me for who I am, they don't know my love language, whatever it may be, whatever story you're telling yourself. And I believe that you are the one that's supposed to, most wellness professionals believe that you're supposed to have your own self-worth and understand, my business partner, Maggie, she has her 6 pillars of self-love. It's phenomenal. Like, when you go through this process of understanding how to create your own self-worth and validate yourself, that no matter what someone else says to you, you know what you bring to the table, and you know how to love yourself, and you can wake up every morning and fill your cup with your own love instead of waiting for someone to give you a hug and fill your cup for you.
Yeah, what it really comes down to is the practice of like self-acceptance. Not a lot of people know how to validate themselves, but that's, in my trainings, I guide people to witness where they do not accept themselves. And it comes down to our own acceptance of our past, our acceptance of where we are in our body, our acceptance of our social status, and our acceptance of just how really our relationships are. And the contemplations are for real, because the inauthentic self is the one that can be the mind that's saying, you're doing good, you're a good job. And that's fine to have a cheerleader. But the real authentic voice is to look at your truths of where you lack the sacredness or where you're showing up short. And it's not to be negative. It's like, oh yeah, I actually did not do the things that are required to fulfill this desire. That's where I'm not showing up. Oh, I actually don't accept this part of my relationship because of blank, or I actually can't accept the space of financial status that I'm currently at. It's looking at that, because when you're true with that, that's where grace can come in. How can grace come in when you're always hyping yourself up? You're not leaving room for growth. So it's this lack of self-awareness to even acknowledge where we're at, and the lack of acceptance we have for ourselves, which creates the disconnect. So in order for people to validate themselves, we need to collectively, individually for sure, accept exactly where we are. And that's not easy, but people say I accept, but when you really break it down,
yeah, because we always see where we want to be, but you need to accept, you're right, where you are currently while working towards where you want to be, because growth is a never-ending journey.
And that's where you can ask for help. It's so important. We declare these things, but the universe is willing to give it. All we need is to ask, whether it's like a divine creator, angels, the universe, the self. It's like the integrity is the component, it's the key ingredient. You're like, this is where I am. This is the cycles that I keep repeating. Like, I'm stuck. I need help. Like, even saying like, I need help, like, universe, like, help me. Right. That's where grace can show you guidance, and especially you being open in that vulnerable space to receive it. And people, like you mentioned, don't necessarily know how to validate themselves, not only because it's our own unconditional programming from upbringing, but it's really the lack of awareness, and the witnessing of the self where we don't accept ourselves brings in the awareness. So it's like, oh, right now I'm not okay with the financial status of where my bank account lies, and here are like the thoughts of stress and not having enough or being enough or coming up, like, oh, I can't accept where I am in my journey of business because this. And it's like, when you witness that, you're like, okay, I can't accept that. Then you're like, I'm in a state of suffering. You need to help me, universe, like, help me move past where I'm at, because I'm completely in acceptance of like where I can't accept.
That's so powerful.
It's layers deep, but people can't validate themselves unless they accept where they're
that's it. There's an order of operations, just like everything.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say to someone who feels like they're not really in the self-worth space? They're having trouble with some of that awareness and creating some neutral experiences. They're trying to grow their community. They're trying to put themselves out there. What do you recommend as the first step they take?
Yeah, really what it comes down to is what brings me the greatest joy, and why am I desiring what I desire, and being in complete transparency. The root of intention is the whole entire, I would say, foundation, because if you want something out of either jealousy or greed, or to prove something, or revengeful, like I've witnessed this in other people. Even in my trainings in India, there was a gentleman who was like suffering in his business, and always his business was suffering. No matter how far he got, he was the best, in school, had high grades, but no matter what, everything would falter. And when he came to India and he went through the processes, he witnessed his own hurt of how his father always told him to be like his brother. And so he never felt like fully accepted and loved by his father. He always tried to prove himself to his dad, seeking the love of his father. So he went in the footsteps of his brother, always wanting to get the better car, get the better job, graduate with the best grades in engineering. But it wasn't even what he wanted. The only reason he did it was so he could feel accepted by his dad. So when you look at the intent, his intentions of building a successful business never were in the long run, long standing, because the root of his intent was out of a space of hurt. So when you look at your intent, is it coming from a pure space? Is it coming from a place like, yeah, I do want that car because I want to feel abundant and alive and like be able to go to places so that I can experience this and give back through this. Like when you're filled with the essence of alignment of what you desire, that's when you can trust in the universe giving it to you, because you're coming from a pure space of intent. But if you're creating something, you want to build this community to prove to other people that you're better than, then the actual,
or you're trying to live out your parents' dreams for you, or whatever, you're living for other people. Yeah.
You're not aware of the root. Like if you are in complete alignment, you need to do that work to speak on what is it that brings me this energetic, and like not be afraid of it. Yeah, I'm a dancer. Yeah, I want to act. Yeah, I want to do this. And yeah, it's okay to witness the fear there. The truth of it is there's a purpose and divine unfolding much greater than you. And you've been given these talents to give them away and help humanity to bring awareness on this planet through your joy and through your talents, right? The more you deny them, the more they will really consume you, because these talents are meant to be flown through you and your desires are meant to be fulfilled. And the more you can recognize that the desires that you have, I always say that the manifestation pre lives the desire. It's like the manifestation of it is already there, and that's why you desire it. So it's like for those who want to grow, who those want to expand, it's witnessing the desire. Like the desire literally means of the Father, of the divine, of the Spirit. It means it's in your heart for you to fulfill it. And you are being called to trust it. So if you desire something, it's part of your awakening to fulfill it. The more you fulfill it, the more you engage in life, the more wealth you create, the more you inspire people, and the more you can help people. So it's getting in touch with your desire, seeing where the pure intent lies, and allowing for yourself to really be consistent in looking at the vision. I've struggled with that myself, but the vision always comes back, and the vision won't end until I fulfill it.
Well, that's the thing, what is they say that you don't stop pursuing something you can't stop thinking about, or, every single day, like you said. So the desire, I think that's a great place to start. What is it that you actually desire? So many people don't know what they actually want or what makes them happy, and not what's going to make you happy based on status, like Mary Liz said, or fulfilling, your parents' dreams or whatever, or living for someone else. What is it that you want? What kind of life do you want? No judgment, no shame, no, none of that. Like, what is it that you actually desire? And the more that you step into your true self and who you are, everything around you is going to fall into place. You're going to find your like-minded community. They're going to be there. They're going to, you're going to gravitate towards the people, the experiences, the things, the places that fulfill those desires that you're seeking. So absolutely, I think that's a great place to start for people. Just take away the unlearning of the conditioning and programming of everything. Like, don't think about what is logical as an adult, right? What are we supposed to do to pay the bills? No, what do you actually want to do with your life? And start working towards that.
Amen. The clarity is medicine. We all are being called to work on the clarity.
Yes. Oh my God.
So fun.
I love this. So cool. We have so many exciting things that we need to do together. This is just the tip of the iceberg, my friend. And I just want to thank you so much for sharing space with me today. Also for sharing your story with my audience, and just truly embodying the authenticity of what this show represents. And thank you for being vulnerable and sharing all of that with us today.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much. And I definitely will share with your audience the upcoming 11/11 meditation course and the 12-week online journey that I'll be allowing to guide a group of people through a journey of transformation.
Yes. So you have something coming up. We're going to put all the links. Everyone always knows once you're done with the episode, jump into the show notes, because that's where all the yummy things are. So we have all of Mary Liz's links for her socials if you want to get in contact with her, but you have this amazing transformative experience coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so my trainings that I've been leading in person on wealth consciousness, relationship, health and mindset, body, and really a really key component is ancestral. I've led these independent courses, and now through this journey of transformation, especially during the darkest nights of the year, it's the fall and the winter, I'll be leading a 12-week online journey for true transformation from the inside out. And I've just been so floored with the people who've experienced miracles in wealth, money that just came in because they did the work. And also I had one of my students who hadn't talked to her father basically in 4 years. And she did the work and boom, rekindled relationship and also healed some ancestral lineage. It's like
full body chills.
Yeah, we're not aware of what we're not aware of. But when you become aware, it is it is profound, and it transcends 7 generations before us and 7 generations after us.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So all of the information to be able to join this experience and work with Mary Liz in the show notes, go in there. If you have any, I mean, even an inkling of doing some of this work, connecting with people in her community, just click on the links, guys. Just take the first step. It will change your life. I promise you.
Yeah, November 8th, I will say November 8th through the 10th is the 3-day awakening course. And then in December, we have that 12-week course. And
love it.
I'm so grateful to do this work with you two, girl. It's what we get to do on this planet in this live stream, is to help people to awaken.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a huge blessing for us to be able to go through this process ourselves and be one of the people in the world that feels like I see clearly, and I can work from that instead of, like, again, having the wool pulled over our eyes, but then being able to share with people and see them open their eyes up and start to see the clarity themselves. That I know I can speak for both of us and say that is so profound and such an honor for us to be a part of people's journeys in that way. It's such an intimate space to be in. And the fact that people allow us to guide us through their journeys is so powerful and so rewarding for both parties. So that, guys, no excuses here. Like, you have so much to being offered to you on the table. All you have to do is take the first step. There's so many. I have my own academy as well. That link's in the show notes. Mary Liz has this incredible transformative experience coming up. Please, 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 do this for you. Like, do this for you. When people have all these questions, where do I start? How do I get clarity? How do I get awareness? How do I do this? It all starts with the click of a button. That's all it is. That's what we did, right? Isn't that what you did?
Yes.
You just decided to put yourself somewhere that changed the course of your growth and your journey.
Yes.
And that's it.
Amen.
Yeah. Thank you so much again. So much love for you.
Much love for you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to the Recovering Perfectionist Podcast. I'm Christine, and if this episode resonated with you or spoke to you in any way, please feel free to share. I absolutely love hearing from you guys and your thoughts about the topics based on your experiences. And also, if there's anything you want me to talk about, just screenshot this episode and share it on social media with your comments. Your feedback really helps me to curate episodes that best serve you. If you have time, I would greatly appreciate if you could leave a review wherever you're listening to this episode, whether on Apple or Spotify or any other platform. I'm wishing you a blessed week ahead, and remember, perfection doesn't exist. Take messy action. Healthy habits keep us balanced, and you are enough.